start. Okay, it's being recorded. All right, we're ready to start. Welcome to PoliticsNY. I'm Steve with the tie. I'm also the political editor-in-chief of PoliticsNY.com. And tonight is the Staten Island Borough President debate. This interview is one in a series of Schnepp's Media PoliticsNY candidate discussion sponsored by AARP New York. New Yorkers 50 plus are the city's most reliable voters, accounting for 3 out of 4 ballots cast in the last open mayoral primary. AARP urges all the borough president candidates to remember that 50 plus voters count and to focus on the issues most important to this critical voting bloc. Schnepp's Media is the only media outlet providing a platform for every single New York City candidate to have their faces seen, voices heard, and personalities on display. We're inviting all candidates on the ballot from Staten Island BP to this debate, all parties, because at the end of the day, it's about the quality of life of the island, and there is both a Democratic and Republican primary. This fun and fast forum is being recorded, so you can watch it on PoliticsNY.com and see all of our debates scheduled and recordings on PoliticsNY.com/debates. For our first round, well, you know what? For our first round of questions, let's go around and have each of you introduce yourself by telling us what makes you the best candidate in the Staten Island Borough for Staten Island Borough President, and perhaps you can sum it up with a catchphrase, 90 seconds each. And I will, when the 90 seconds are up, if you keep going, I'm going to do a this or a this, and that means kind of wrap it up because I don't want to interrupt you. So I'll give you like a sign, all right? And we will start just from my screen. So we will start with Lorie.
Oh, well, thank you. Hi, Steve. Hi, everybody. I'm Lorie Honor. I am a teacher for 25 years. I own a small business called Honor Wines here in Staten Island. I've been a community activist and advocate for many years. I'm running for Staten Island Borough President to end business as usual on Staten Island, to stand up to a history that has not worked and actually not benefited Staten Island, especially as it comes to pertains to irresponsible development, especially issues like the proposed building of a BJ's wholesale on our Graniteville wetlands that will displace, disrupt, and destabilize one of our communities. I refuse to take money from real estate developers, special interests, or corporations. I think I'm well positioned to be the next Staten Island Borough President because I am aware that after decades of community involvement and engagement, I want to continue to help build a better and more connected community on Staten Island that now more than ever, Staten Island needs a borough president who's committed to a care economy with leadership skills that are born out of activism, collaboration, inclusion, and engagement. I'm also excited to let our viewers and you know that the momentum of our grassroots campaign has resulted with our campaign coming up with the most Staten Islanders donating to our campaign, helping us raise the most amount of money in the entire Democratic primary. So we have a very clear path to victory, that I think, but most of all, it represents regular working people donating to give me the time and support for a Staten Island Borough, thinking that Staten Island Borough Hall can be a place that works for all Staten Islanders, not just the insiders. So I think that positions me well for the next borough president, to be the next Democratic borough president. And for more information, we have a website called honorcorebp.com. So thank you for this lovely chance to introduce myself.
Thank you, Lorie. And Leticia Remauro.
I'm Leticia Remauro, and I'm running for borough president to make life easier for everyone on Staten Island. A borough president's job is to plan and protect. That's what my old friend and mentor, Guy Molinari, told me 30 years ago when he took me under his wing. I was a restaurant owner when he appointed me to the community board, and later he recommended me for a job with Rudy Giuliani and then Governor Pataki. I spent 20 years serving the people of Staten Island, and I think we did some great things like closing the Fresh Kills landfill and saving Mount Loretto, and St. Francis Friary from the bulldozers. As Republican County Chair, I helped to elect many Republicans to office, including two of my opponents, Vito and Steve. And I have been working with Nicole Malliotakis since she first got elected to office, and I was proud to help her win her seat in Congress this past November. As Community Board Chair, I brought economic development to the North Shore, and I also corrected the zoning along Bay Street so that seniors and young people could have a place to live if they didn't want to own a home. Instead of sending them to New Jersey, we can now keep them right here on Staten Island. As a matter of fact, I've been protecting and planning for Staten Island for so long that Senator Andrew Lanza nicknamed me Staten Island's cheerleader in chief. Going forward, I want to make Staten Island a great place. I want to utilize smart light technology at every intersection to reduce driver frustration and get rid of those camera tickets. I'd like to also bring to Staten Island the opportunity to really protect and support our police, something that we don't see right now. And I'd also like to return to the judges the decision about bail. So like President Trump, I'm a small business owner who wants government to work for the people. I have the conservative line, and I ask Republicans to vote for me on June 22nd.
Thank you. And Cesar.
Thank you so much, Stephen. My name is Cesar Vargas. I'm an attorney, a member of the United States Army Reserve, and a proud Staten Islander, and also an activist. For me, it's really about bringing bold leadership and inclusive leadership to Staten Island. For so long, Staten Island has been the deep south of New York State, both politically and geographically. And it's time that we need to ensure that all communities have a voice. As someone who came here immigrated from Mexico at the age of 5 after my father passed away, I know very well the immigrant experience, as well as the experience of working when I was young just to help my family provide for rent, making sure that the doors closed on me of doors of opportunity because I didn't have citizenship. But I prevailed because of the support of my community and my mother. And since then, I have worked in at the city level, state level, and federal level. In the city level, I worked in the New York City Council, where I'm very familiar with the interconnected and complexity of our city agencies. So I'm ready to hold accountable city agencies and every level of government. At the state level, I have worked in Albany to pass legislation that have provided relief to working families. At the federal level, I worked with U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer, including President Obama, to bring relief to dreamers. So for me, it's really the experience that I have as an attorney, as an advocate, to really bring bold change to Staten Island that would allow and create a more just, safe, and prosperous Staten Island. And it's time for me, because it's time that we bring bold community. And it's not about Trump, and it's not about the money that you have in a campaign. It's about the community support that's going to elevate you. And I'm glad that people have already been supporting and voting for me and ranking me as the #1 choice. So I look forward to working and really elevating Staten Island at the state, city, and federal level. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on a minute. I just want to try to get Brandon. Is Brandon, he's a candidate?
Yes, he is.
All right, hold on a minute. Let me figure a way here. I'm sorry about that. I have to make him I'm sorry, a little technical, because he's an attendee and he should be a participant. Oh, wait, I know what I have to do. Brandon. I'm sorry about that. Just give me a second here. Brandon, here he is. Allow more. Promote the panelist. Got him. Okay. And then if anybody else chats and says that they need to be panelists that are running, please let me know and I'll let you in. I figured out how to do. Once again, this is where our co-sponsors are AARP. So these next questions came from a list of AARP questions and surveys. Okay. We know housing is an issue on Staten Island. on Staten Island, how would you ensure there's an adequate stock of affordable housing to meet the financial constraints of all people at all income levels as they age? You may know that according to AARP surveys, residents don't believe they will be able to afford to retire in New York City. What will you do to address that? And we'll go in reverse order, so we'll go with Cesar first on that.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think one of the powers of the borough presidency is his or her ability to influence land use and zoning and rezoning. So for me, it's definitely making sure that we, one, revamp the entire ULURP process. This is the process that allows the city to rezone areas. And as we have seen before, so this process has given too much weight and power to developers who at times just come in, rezone complete areas, promise the world saying that there's going to be affordable housing, and that's not the case. As we have seen on Staten Island, we had promises that there was going to be a wheel, there was going to be so much economic development, and it didn't happen. Developers are trying to rezone an area where there's literally protecting Staten Island from the next superstorm that will definitely come. So for me, it's making sure that we are creating responsible development that will create maximum affordable housing, including 100%. 80, 20% affordable housing is not enough, especially if we want to keep people on Staten Island to ensure that they can afford their rent, they can afford to own a home, because we also want to remove the barriers to home ownership. So for me, it's making sure that we create a land use and rezoning and overall planning that will bring the community first, rather than working on the timeline of developers. So for me, it's making sure that we put the community first, and making sure that we are using our tax incentives to ensure that we are creating affordable housing, and in addition, programs like allowing people to convert their basements into livable, safe, and quality housing. So for me, it's really looking into all those levels and securing city, state, and federal funding to ensure that we bring those resources. So this is not just the city hall level. I want to make sure that the borough presidency that I will be, that advocates and bring resources from both government and private resources to ensure that affordable housing and that people can still live on Staten Island and call Staten Island home.
Thank you. And we have two new people, Brandon and Mohan. I don't, and you will both have an opportunity to give a brief opening statement. And what we're doing is we're asking about affordable housing for seniors first. So we're going to finish with them. And then when I call on you two gentlemen, you could start with an opening statement and then address the question I just asked. So to be fair, all right? So let's go to Leticia.
So I have been someone who has corrected zoning so that we can create more affordable housing on the North Shore. We have a project right now called River North that unfortunately all but two of our elected officials are opposing, which would create 80-20 housing, which would keep seniors and give them a place to live and keep young people here. I worked to create Irby, which is another 80-20 housing program that is actually filled with young entrepreneurs and senior citizens enjoying Staten Island. But let's make no mistake, this mayor and this city council has cut funding for programs that would have built senior housing on Staten Island. There are certain areas of Staten Island that make sense to create senior housing, especially along the transit corridor of the North Shore in Stapleton, in Tompkinsville, in Port Richmond, in St. George, in Mariners Harbor. Beautiful waterfront property that can actually house our senior citizens and house our young people. But we have been spending all of our time saying no to this type of development. And what has resulted is our seniors and young people are moving to New Jersey. That has to stop. The other way to keep seniors in New York is to make it more affordable. Right now, we're being taxed. Property taxes are up. Corporate taxes are now going up because this mayor and city council cannot balance the budget. Not one of them have ever invested their money to create a job for someone else. We need common sense thinking in the city council, and we need to hold the bloated budgets that we have been seeing coming out of City Hall. We have to reduce the stress on people living in New York City, and we need to find a way to make it easier to live in New York City so people want to live here. Staten Island has seen too often people retiring and running. We need, and I will, as borough president, find a way to make people want to stay here. And the simple solution, make life easier.
Thank you. Lorie, and then Brandon and Mr. Mohan, I'll give you each an opportunity. First, Lorie, to the question first. You have to unmute yourself, I think.
That's a good start, right? So as borough president, I think it's important to acknowledge that we have to work with city and local agencies to ensure that the irresponsible development that has been endemic on Staten Island for decades is stopped before it displaces and disrupts and further destroys, sort of the fabric of our communities, of which our elders are, of course, held in, great honor and esteem. They deserve to sell homes and move into other spaces without, throughout Staten Island with a little more choice and a little more less warehousing. So I think that development, prioritizing responsible development and affordable housing is a priority. I'll insist on innovation and community-based solutions such as intergenerational affordable housing with communal resources and responsibilities to stop the warehousing both of our poor and our elderly, giving our young adults affordable, attractive, and innovative options to stay on Staten Island and to reinvest here at home. I think we lose our youth very quickly with limited choices of housing options, and also we warehouse our elderly by just making elderly communities for the elderly, which I think are not in the best interest of our elders to have no interaction with other populations. So I would propose that there be events and programming to foster community and collaboration, and maybe even reciprocity of services in these communal housings. For instance, maybe qualifying young people from the community could take elder shopping or provide lessons or tutoring for young people in exchange for rent reduction, which would lessen the burden of young people who are just getting out of college and may be experiencing debt through college loan debt. So I think thinking of things more holistically, as opposed to just solving one problem, but really looking to solve multiple problems that Staten Islanders experience would be a novel idea for Staten Island, especially as it pertains to developing and housing.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move now to the two candidates joined us a little bit later. First, Mr. Stradford. For 90 seconds, you can give an opening statement, and then if you can, to respond to how to keep seniors in Staten Island and housing so that they could retire in New York City. So let's start with your opening statement.
Thank you so much. So my name is Brandon Stratford, and I know what Staten Islanders need because I am Staten Island. I grew up in NYCHA in the Markham homes, which no longer exist. I come from a union family and a family that knows a lot about small business, specifically Stratford Funeral Home. I'm also a religious man. I go to church every Sunday and I join many of us in prayer for many of the same reasons. I am part of the working class, having served over 30 years working for city government and as a community advocate. I know your struggles because they have also been my struggles. I have been on the ground and in our community, and I am not a stranger whatsoever. I was on the front lines marching against injustice for Eric Garner and with many in support of George Floyd. I've been there on issues of race and inequity. I was there on healthcare and supporting our healthcare workers during and well before COVID. While some candidates ran for their summer homes, I stood by essential workers and helped bury, unfortunately, those souls who did not survive the pandemic. I have been out front with all of our values as Democrats. I stood against Trump and the vitriol of his supporters, especially on January 6th. I will always stand up for our party's values, and unlike some others here tonight, I will not abandon them for any other backroom tactics, because I believe when Democrats stand together, we all win. I know I am indeed the best person to unite the Staten Island Democratic Party and lead us to victory in November. For the first time in a long time, Staten Islanders, I'm not just here for notoriety, and I'm not just running to be president of the 49th district. I hear you loud and clear all the way to Tottenville. I'm running to be a voice for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, would you like to answer the question? I hope you heard it about, according to AARP surveys, a lot of people 50 and older believe they won't be able to afford to retire in New York City. How would you address that?
So one thing we need to remember is that the 80-20 formula works and it doesn't work. Particularly, it needs to really mirror what the income levels are in certain communities or certain regions. So 80-20 maybe on the Upper East Side is not the same formula as it would be maybe on the North Shore here in Staten Island. So we need to look at that to make sure that it works as the way it was intended. We need to bring in more stakeholders so they have a say-so in how housing should look, especially for seniors. When I speak to my senior advocacy team, and they run a resident council at a senior housing here in the North Shore, one of the things that they're concerned about is their own safety, having the proper type, having proper screening of other residents that move in, and even with SCREE and DREE to make sure that those programs are funded adequately and steadily, so there are funds, more funds, and more outreach as well. My parents are octogenarians, both of them, and I'm very concerned about their future, their stability, and I'm also over 50 myself. So I'm concerned, how it's gonna look for me as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mohan, please, you have 90 seconds to introduce yourself and then answer the question about seniors and housing, please.
Sure, sir. Good evening, Mr. Witts and all of my fellow candidates here. Thanks for this opportunity. And I could start off with this. I'm pretty much a labor union guy. I'm the only labor union guy in this election, in this primary. And I built my life. I came with $25 in my pocket to US and pretty much built my life here, all by my, with brick by brick. That is the toughest life I led, a struggle life. And then I joined the union. I became a state worker and then joined the union. And that union job really did well for me. And I'm pretty much a good example of how the union jobs can help a person and how much it can give a middle-class family as a backbone and what a union member can do with the support of the union. And without that, and I've been contributing about more than 2 decades of community service here. I'm part of the police council for the last 15 years. I'm a part of the community board for more than 6 years. And I'm also a part of the union for more than 25 years. With all that experience, I've been in every part of Staten Island. I'm going and doing what the best I can do. I've been giving back to the community. And that is what I go with. And I'm a foot soldier. I'm doing my best to make the big difference in Staten Island community. And thank you.
And now you have a minute to please respond about housing for seniors and what would be your plan to help seniors afford to retire here in New York City in Staten Island?
That's something I have my own experience. My own colleagues who retired from the state services, they all go to Florida or North Carolina, and wherever they can settle with their retirement income, what they get. But I would feel that you must make some facilities, senior homes in Staten Island more affordable to them, and make the quality of life much better for them to live in. What they look for when they retire, make the life better wherever they are. And they want to spend the rest of the life with more ease and without a lot of hustle and bustle. So with that, having that kind of a sense, if you want to keep Staten Islanders, seniors, especially in Staten Island, you need to do what you have to do, make Staten Island as a better community for them to stay, and also build houses and make more affordable, houses, they can get the affordable houses when they make it available for them. That's more important. If you don't have affordable homes in Staten Island, there's no way we can keep them here. That's the first target that I should work as a borough president. You have every access to work with the community board. Make sure more affordable homes are built, and the community boards, land use committee, they're big on it in approving all this coming up, these new requests from the builders. We need to make sure that the affordable houses are built in Staten Island for the senior. That's one way of keeping them. And other way of keeping them is improve the quality of life for them, make them whatever the facility, recreational facility, what they need for. That's one of the things we need to look at. Staten Island can do that. We have all the resources in Staten Island. We can do that.
Thank you very much. The next question, again from ARP, is knowing transportation is an issue in Staten Island. As the city reimagines its streetscapes, how would you incorporate the needs of the city's aging residents and ensure pedestrian safety, particularly for residents 50 and older? And we will start with Leticia on that one.
Well, Vision Zero isn't working. We know that because Staten Island has been named the number one county for deaths, for pedestrian deaths in the United States. And yet the mayor is doubling down on it, reducing speed even lower and making our cameras 24/7. If we really want to move traffic and save lives, what we need to do is we need to install smart traffic light technology at every intersection across Staten Island. They did it in Midtown Manhattan under Mayor de Blasio, under Mayor Bloomberg, I'm sorry, and it worked really, really well. They had a pilot program here in Staten Island, which worked fantastic. And you know, Staten Island is the only borough without a subway. And every year the MTA takes $150 million in excess revenue from the bridge tolls, and they spend it to enhance public transportation in the subway system. Well, since we don't have a subway, we need smart traffic light technology here on Staten Island to move our buses forward. And by moving our buses forward, we'll also move our cars forward. By moving our cars forward, we reduce driver frustration, we reduce the need to speed, and we protect pedestrians. Smart traffic light technology is the way to go. They use it all over the world, and it's unimaginable that we have not initiated it here in the city. And I want to say one other thing. You know, when Congresswoman Malliotakis wanted to fund a transportation project, there was none available from New York City DOT for Staten Island. That is abominable. So we need DOT and the city council this year, as the budget's being adopted, to include smart traffic light technology in the budget for Staten Island. And then we can use the MTA funds and hopefully federal funds from Congresswoman Malliotakis to pay for it.
Thank you. And we'll move to Brandon. I'm skipping around. How would you help the needs of aging residents in regard to transportation?
Well, as I mentioned before, my parents are octogenarians. Fortunately, they both drive, but a lot of our seniors here in Staten Island do not. And in looking at the work that our roads need, there are lots of curb cuts that need to be made, and there are many missing. There are even sidewalks that don't exist, Tranter Place being one of them. And there's also areas where we could have speed bumps and have other, you know, roadway, I can't think of the exact word, but in my work as a community constituent, it takes forever to even get a yield sign or a stop sign or anything to slow traffic down, particularly like maybe St. Paul's Avenue or other areas that, you know, there's lots of speed and lots of accidents, and it shouldn't take a death or an accident or someone running into someone's home to get, you know, the most logical types of, you know, traffic enforcement and safety, for goodness sake. And, you know, as long as we can get a better schedule with transportation, public transportation, we should be able to accommodate our seniors a little more. I know that we've got a long way to go. I've also proposed a light rail, and I'm not going to leave that innovation. It will certainly speed things up, and it's alternative energy. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll go to Lorie. And unmute yourself, Lorie. You have to unmute yourself. Oh,
I
there you
did, thank you. It just
There you
takes a second to find myself. So there are two things that come into play here: the changing the culture and then adding capital projects. So changing the culture is what people don't like to do. They don't like to drive slower when they want to drive fast. They don't like to get tickets when they're being monitored during, in school zones. But you know what? Changing the culture is important because it protects citizens and people. And data suggests that driving slower saves lives. If we want to save the lives of our disabled, of our elderly, of our children and students and people just generally trying to cross the street without getting killed, we have to, address the culture of our car culture and our need for speed. Recently, there's a brouhaha over changing or lowering the speed limit on Highland Boulevard. Well, you know what? Let's give it a try because people are getting murdered all over Highland Boulevard. And maybe it's time for us to address our responsibility as drivers and as citizens to protect the least among us, right? Walkers versus cars. Who's going to win? Probably cars if you continue to run over pedestrians. So our elderly and our disabled need to be kept safe by us taking responsibility for our culture and really addressing changes in that way. In addition, we do need to invest in infrastructure like a light rail, like fast buses, and like smart traffic technology. These are not political issues. These are actual essentials to make our borough work better. We have the longest commute in the country, and we need to address it, not just for the elderly and disabled, but for all Staten Islanders.
Thank you. Mr. Vargas.
Thank you so much. Well, I would definitely say to Leticia that for all those people who have died, especially in the Boulevard of Death, the Highland Boulevard, Vision Zero is certainly not perfect, but it's definitely worth taken into consideration. And it's one tool of many, including the light smart technology that we can incorporate. So complete this missing one solution and how can we improve it? It's real leadership is about working with the mayor, holding him accountable, but not just simply saying this doesn't work, and therefore this doesn't work. No, we need to work with both parties, with the mayor, with the city council, with Albany and the federal government to ensure that we're creating. At the end of the day, it's about improving our infrastructure and making sure that we are really improving our transportation system to ensure that the public transportation system is reliable. So this includes more bus lanes, the technology to ensure that the buses can go in and out as quickly as possible so people can avoid being stuck in a traffic jam and not being with their family. We should also look in terms of we're an island, look into the seas, as well as for me, even looking into the air with new technology, including we need to look at innovative and bold solutions, but just simply saying that Mayor de Blasio is wrong on everything is not the solution. We need a borough president that's going to be working with both parties for a solution, not just simply castigating just because the mayor is not popular. It's about saving lives, and saving lives means working to improve our infrastructure, working with both parties to ensure that we are making sure that our seniors can have access to the public transportation, can have access to new ways for people to move around. And that includes like transportation alternatives has definitely came up with solutions to ensure that we're moving around. So again, it's about working with both parties, it's upgrading infrastructure, but simply castigating one party or the mayor is not the solution.
All right, before Mr. Mohan speaks, you were called out, Leticia. I'm going to give you 30 seconds for a response.
Okay, so Vision Zero is not working, period. If you want to move traffic faster, well, you can't do it by lowering the speed limit in certain areas. Like Lorie, you said that we have the longest commute in the nation. Lowering the speed limit's going to make it even longer. And with all respect, Mr. Vargas, Vision Zero doesn't work. You don't double down on something that has proved to be unsafe. We have gotten less safe since the mayor has come into office, not more safe. So let's try smart light technology, which has been proven to move traffic and reduce driver frustration and keep people safe. Sometimes you got to scrap a bad idea, like so many bad ideas the mayor has had.
Thank you. Mr. Mohan, how would you help seniors and aging residents in regards to transportation? You have to unmute yourself, please.
Sorry about it.
Okay.
As far as the seniors getting around transportation issues, I would start with the access rights. Access rights is a big issue for the seniors. That's the one they are normally more frequently they use access rights because those people, those seniors who are not afford to take the public transportation. With that kind of situation, I would first improve the access rights to make the seniors' life more better and they can freely move around with less frequency in the sense the access rights takes its own time. Coming back to the transportation issues, more frequent bus services needs to be given to seniors, and the buses should be accommodate the seniors with all their disability. We have the New York City buses or kind of provides this kind of a facility to get the seniors get into the bus and get out of the bus. But I would like to share that the Vision Zero is a it has got its little pitfalls, but it needs to be implemented. Why? Because the other day I was in a police meeting, Deputy Commissioner showed us how important, how many lives are being saved by lowering certain speed limit. That really helps to cut down the people killed on the streets and the crossroads, and that we need to do. To get around the transportation issue, I would suggest with the Vision Zero implemented in the city, I would like to have some lane, speed lane, so that people doesn't have to go through the regular traffic lights and all that they have to provide. In a lot of cities I've seen, other major cities, they have other flyovers going around the city. So you get onto the flyover, go to the ferry, go wherever you want. That will ease down a lot of pressure on the people who wants to get to the ferry and other places. So I would like to say implement both. Get a speed lane, and also you have to have things Vision Zero implemented.
All right, and I'm sorry that Mr. Mohan.
Sorry.
No, that was me. All right, I would like to give Lorie just 30 seconds to respond because Mr. Remauro, I know I'm horrible with pronunciation.
Remauro.
What's that?
Remauro.
Remauro. Yes, got it. Yeah, I'll give Lorie 30 seconds to respond to Ms. Remauro.
I just wanted to rebut the comment about lengthening our commute by driving fast on Holland Boulevard. It's really not analogous. If people want to drive 55, they should get on the highway. We have several highways that are more conducive to higher speed. So lowering the speed in a high death and fatality area, as Cesar said, the corridor of death or the death road. I mean, this is not about getting somewhere faster. It's about getting a pedestrian home alive. And that's more important than a 5 or 10 mile per hour bump in speed, which is proven to only get to your destination just several minutes faster. I think it's inappropriate to suggest that we have to go faster at all costs.
All right, we're going to go to this is the last question from the ARP, and that is most ARP members and all New York City residents would rate crime as one of their top concerns. How would you mitigate that as Staten Island Borough President? And we will start with Mr. Mohan first, because we waited for him last.
Oh, thank you. That's a very good question. I would like to answer that. That's exactly why I'm part of the Police Council, improving the quality of life, make sure seniors are safe and sound in Staten Island. That's one of the biggest reasons I joined the police. Why I joined the police, I was addressing a local issue here. I went there and the seniors some people are coming in, indulging vandalism. The quality of life is so bad, people would like to move from our neighborhood, which is one of the quietest neighborhoods. So with that, I started getting into the police, going and approaching them, how to resolve that. And I did resolve them, got rid of that problem with the cooperation of the police. But that's how I landed in police. And that I really, when I started addressing this problem, eventually I landed in the police council. For the last 15 years, I go to all these the monthly meetings. I attend all these monthly meetings, hear all these quality of life issues, most of them seniors, and sound issues and all the other issues that goes on in the neighborhood. I'm there to address. I know exactly how to deal with what kind of police officers can deal with this kind of situation. I think I would be the best person to deal with that kind of situation. Make sure the seniors are stay well and safe here in Staten Island and enjoy their life. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vargas.
Thank you. And for me, obviously, one of the most important things that I want to ensure that on Staten Island is that we create a more just, safe, and prosperous borough for all. And that includes ensuring that we are obviously providing law enforcement with the necessary tools and funding to ensure that they do their job to keep us safe from those that threaten us violent and immediate harm. But the NYPD should also not be in the business, nor do they have the training to deal with certain issues, including mental health crisis, including dealing with children. They do not have the training. I want our law enforcement who are trained to keep us safe to focus and have the tools to ensure that they are investigating interstate and violent enterprises that will threaten us harm. But I don't want them to be in our neighborhoods where they are over policing communities of color. And I want, instead of that funding, to go into social justice program, after school program, summer youth employment program. So our young people, our schools, our teachers can have the resources to keep our communities safe. And for me, that's where it starts. It doesn't mean, because at the end of the day, we also don't want police officers to undertake responsibility that they're not trained for. What's next? What's next? Do we also want them to change plumbing or do more things than that? No, our men and women in uniform should have the tools and resources to fight crime. Period. They should not be in the business of mental health crisis. We have mental health experts. We have experts who can deal with children and especially who come from homes that need additional resources. So for me, it's about ensuring that we keep our community safe by investing in our communities and making sure that our police and law enforcement can do the job and have the resources, but for them to do the job that they were trained for.
Thank you. And Ms. Romero.
Well, I've always been a supporter of the police, and as community board chair, I actually worked with the police closely on nuisance bars, where we restricted their liquor licenses when they were close to a residential neighborhood. We restricted the liquor license. Instead of closing at 4 a.m., we restricted it to 1 a.m. and on the weekdays 11 a.m. Why? Because nothing good happens in a bar after 2 a.m. and it reduced greatly the calls that the police had to come out to and allow them to focus on crime. The greatest thing that we can do to reduce crime is to put dangerous criminals in jail and let the police do their job. Bail reform has taken away a judge's discretion and has put it in the decision whether somebody should get bail or not into an algorithm, a computer. And that computer has failed us because we have more criminals walking the streets than ever before. We need to give the police the tools that they need to do their job. We need to give them a raise to attract the best and brightest to policing. We need to continuously support our police department. We have to stop vilifying them and start revering them. And we have to teach our children to respect the police. As borough president, my goal will always be to ensure that Staten Island is a place where police officers are respected and that they have the tools they need to fight crime.
Thank you. And we'll go to Mr. Stradford.
Well, in speaking with my senior advocacy team, a couple of the things that they continue to stress to me is their safety, and they've asked me to work with them and help them. And what I've done, along with Councilwoman Rose, I have been able to make sure that there is an increased presence, police presence, at their location and other senior locations, particularly for their own safety. They were very concerned at this particular location along Bay Street, which is known for lots of activity in the evenings. And even during COVID, there were some bars that just completely ignored the state liquor rules, state liquor authority rules. And I even conferred with the state liquor authority on their behalf to make sure that these bars, these nuisance places, closed earlier, or maybe they, suspended them or something to keep some of their patrons from wandering across the street inebriated and, harassing some of the seniors or, all of the other types of quality of life violations that happen sometimes when people are intoxicated. So I would also augment NYPD, not defund, to make sure that there are these services there that can really address the problems that exist, like mental health and those types of things. But the other Miss Remauro mentioned that we need to, and this is not a dig on you, but this is just to make a clearer point, that we need to teach our children how to be respectful of NYPD. Well, as a formerly young Black man, I was taught the talk. The talk is what we get to teach us how to respect and live through our encounters with NYPD. That is not a conversation that is shared amongst all across groups. So while I understand what your intent was about teaching respect, it goes, that respect level is a bit not always palatable across all lines. It just isn't. But our seniors really deserve better protections and confidence in their NCOs and in elected officials, and even someone like me, a community advocate that they have called on and depended on.
Thank you. And well, Ms. Remauro, I'll give you just a quick rebuttal.
Sure,
because
sure.
I don't think he you know.
Well, I just want to say, I'm Italian, and my son, my daughter, my grandson were all given the talk. Every parent gives their child, should give their child the talk about respecting the police officers. And, if you're pulled over, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, what do you need from me? Don't argue, and make the phone call to the parent afterwards.
Thank you. Ms. Honor.
Hi. Well, on this anniversary of the murder of George Floyd, I think it's only appropriate that we acknowledge that retraining and reallocation of funds from the police is essential. While we, of course, acknowledge the danger and great job that most police officers do, we also need to acknowledge the work that needs to get done to protect our communities of color, to protect people who are protect people from police overreach in general. I believe in investing and supporting and elevating the roles of community police officers, especially our wonderful community affairs police. I believe that while crime reduction is paramount, we also need to address the systems of inequity that lead to crime. So addressing things in a holistic way should be more taken into consideration. And I also believe that we should be reallocating funds, especially from the NYPD budget, to other areas so that the police can focus on these very specific aspects of crime fighting that they are the experts in, and divesting them from other areas that would be best served by social and mental health professionals. I think the other mayoral candidates are proposing very sound policies and initiatives that puts more funds into communities. And I look forward to working with those funding ideas and those reallocations without sacrificing public safety. But I really look forward to the discussions with the mayor, fellow borough presidents, and city council to prioritize efforts to restructure and reallocate responsibilities and funds.
Thank you. All right, before we go to closing statements, I want to ask something fun or something that tells me you know the borough you're seeking to represent. So the question, I want kind of quick answers here, is one, if you had to make a key and then afterward you had to go get a cake or some pastries for some party, right? And maybe, if maybe you don't know the name of the place exactly, but you know the street it's on, I want you to go around and say, where would you make a key made? And then you got to pick up some pastries or a cake for a party. And we'll start with Mr. Stradford.
I would make a key and I would go to Cake Chef on Jewett Avenue, right around Victory Boulevard, and I would take every single red velvet cake they've got, every last one of them.
Tell me.
Where would you make the key?
Huh?
Where would you make the key?
Minkle.
Where's that?
Forest Avenue.
Oh, good. And Mr. Vargas? Yep.
Hi there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, I would definitely get, in terms of cake, I would go to San Jeronimo Mexican Bakery to just get sweet Mexican bread. And I would go to Richmond Lock and Smith, that's right on Heartland Village, and just making sure that we're supporting literally the smallest businesses on Staten Island.
And Mr. Mohan, where would you get a key made and where would you get some pastries or cake or a bun or whatever? You have to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, please.
Sorry about it. I always go to, whenever I want to make a key, I either go to the Home Depot, that's the default place for me. And then I want to make a special leaky and lock facilities. I go to a place where on Victory Boulevard, right close to the Jewett Avenue, there's a locksmith there. I always use them. And they are very good service. They provide a very good service. As far as the cake is concerned, this bakery, bakery is right next to that shop. Is Alfonso. I go to Alfonso. They make a very good cakes. I always order cakes from Alfonso.
Thank you. And we're Ms. Honor. Ms.
I love Alfonso's as well, Mohan. I'm with you on that.
Thank you.
I love Renata's on Forest Avenue because when my son was going into the Marines, it was the only bakery that was open on a Sunday, and they did. My son went into the Marines very quickly. We had less than 24 hours to send him off, and we had to have a party, so we had to have a special cake. And so Renata's has a special place in my heart, and we always go there because of that. And of course, Harry's at Debner's on Victory Boulevard is the local mom and pop hardware store that we've been going to forever. And so I would recommend Harry's and Renata's.
Thank you. And lastly, Ms. Remauro.
Well, to make a key, I go to Ace Hardware, which is locally owned. It used to be Judy's on Victory Boulevard. For cake, no place like Piece of Cake on New Dorp Lane. Great cake, wonderful owners, and really involved in the community.
No, that was a
There's not a bad piece of cake on Staten Island. So I think in agreement, we're all pretty much in agreement on each other's bakery choices.
It's very interesting, and it's it also says your taste, and I like that, make it fun. All right, in a closing statement, and there's been a lot of questions from viewers. I don't. What I think I'm going to ask is one, in your closing statement, can you address what you would do differently if elected to Staten Island Borough President from the current term limited Staten Island Borough President, Jimmy Otto? And then also tell me your superpower. What makes you special? And we are run out of time. So, I'll give each a minute on it. Minute 10, And let's start with Mr. Stradford.
I guess I would say, not guess, my superpower, I'm a bridge builder. I certainly know how to bring factions together. All of my friends say I'm the ambassador of the group. And that's one of the things that I believe a borough president ought to be, is a brand ambassador. And what I would like to do that is very different, well, not what I'd like to do, but what I will do that is very, very different, is I'm going to turn Staten Island around so it is a mecca of tourism, but not just to come and see, the bucolic landscape we've got, but I want to make this a center for entertainment. We have so many venues here. We have Alice Austin House. We have the 7,100 seat stadium right down the street from me that's just sitting there waiting for something to do. We have our St. George Theater. We have Snug Harbor. We have, the conference house grounds. There's so many places that we can bring talent. I have been a production assistant for a major entertainment company, and I know how to get that done. And we can do that. We can have as many weekly events as maybe Brooklyn does. Every Thursday, every Friday, every Tuesday, there's something going on in Brooklyn, and we can have that too. And it doesn't have to cost much at all.
Thank you. And to visit your website is what? Everybody can give their website.
It's Stradford number 4, bp.com.
Thank you. Mr. Vargas.
Yeah, so for me, it would be my superpower would be my story as someone who came here from Mexico, immigrated when I was 5 years old, but I also believe it's a superpower that everyone on Staten Island shares, a story of an immigrant story of whether your parents came here 2 years ago or 200 years ago. We all share that beautiful immigrant story that we are a nation of immigrants and that we should continue to open doors of opportunity for others. So in terms of what I would do differently, first, I would actually fix and build up Borough Hall. Right now it's falling apart, literally. There's walls falling apart and we need to change that. And that's what I would do as Borough President, and making sure that Staten Island is a welcoming place where people can actually feel welcome in the people's house. That's what the Borough Hall is, rather than just get married or just go pay a ticket. This is a place where we should be celebrating Staten Island's beautiful and diverse culture, making sure that we are connecting communities together. This is where we can have conversations with law enforcement and the community. This is where we have our government officials, including city council members, members of Congress, meet and connect, and also a place where we can solve problems, including especially when there's emergencies like a superstorm. So for me, that's what I would do when I'm Borough President.
And your website?
Yes, and my website is vargas2021.com. And if you look for everyone to visit us, and if you have any questions, let us know.
Thank you. And we'll go to Ms. Remauro.
So I have 3 superpowers. It's solving problems, getting things done, and breaking that chain of going along to get along. I've used these superpowers to do so many great things for Staten Island, from helping to close the Fresh Kills landfill to creating a green approach to zoning while I was Community Board 1 chair. I've been able to do things that others were not, like finding a new location for the Jersey Street garage on the Fresh Kills landfill. It took out of the box thinking to do that, like getting Empire Outlets located at the waterfront. It took a lot of muscle, a lot of fight, and a lot of arguing to get that done, but I did it. As Borough President, I'm going to use these tools to help Staten Island. I'm going to bring vocational training back to high school. I'm going to get those smart traffic lights installed on every intersection across Staten Island. And most of all, I'm going to support our police to protect us and to protect our future. What would I do different than the current Borough President? Well, I could tell you right now, first thing I do is return the Columbus Day Parade to New Dorp Lane. And I would celebrate Christopher Columbus again here on Staten Island. My website is Remauro for SIBP.com. And I hope that you will cast your vote for me. And I'd like to be your first female Borough President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohan. And then Lorie, you could bring it home. Mr. Mohan.
Well, I think my superpower is that I have a very delicate radar for BS. And I can detect and trust people who are trustworthy and have integrity and have character. And I can tell the difference between those who don't very, very quickly. I think the difference in what I would bring versus the current Borough President, and frankly, the Borough Presidents of the last 32 years, is that I would have a real community presence. I have a very strong presence here, just being out in the community, going to the green market, swimming in our waters, using the public pool at Lions, advocating for the resources that we lost when Cromwell fell into the ocean and was never replaced, getting women and allies to get involved in politics and the democratic process, by whether that was locally or joining me in my work to support the Equal Rights Amendment in Virginia, getting people involved in Georgia to help elect Senators Warnock and Ossoff, along with many, many other grassroots organizers. I have that love and that visibility for Staten Island, and I'm very, very active throughout the island in many, many ways. So I think that the absence of a real presence of that leadership has been very clear And I think having someone who has the energy and the identities to sort of be everywhere in a lot of different ways would be a very refreshing change.
Thank you. And your website you have?
Oh, it's Honor for BP, FOR, Honor, like Lorie Honor, for FORBP.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mohan. All right, let's bring it home. What's your superpower?
What's my superpower? I call my superpower is the giving back to the community, service. That's my superpower. Service with a strong leadership. That's what I've been doing for this community for the last 20 years. I'm part of the police. I'm part of the union. I'm the president of a union with 500,000 people. The whole New York City region, I manage. So with that union experience, community board experience, and the police experience, I have combined all the experience. Besides that, I'm also a tourism expert. I did the tourism for the first 80 years of my life, and then went on to the industry. I had the industrial experience, and I did the international trade. I started I revived my grandfather's international trade. I did that. So having come here, I have the banking experience. And then I've been working as an IT specialist for the last 30 years. And I'm also a proud member of AARP that I would like to make a mention of it here. So with that, I have all-round skills, all-round experience. I thought I've been giving that. I raise about 100 to 160,000 for charities every year from my office. We do that. We provide a lot of money. I'm giving out every way possible. And I'm also serving the community as a part of the Community Emergency Response Team, CERT. I'm a member of CERT. And it was given by the Department of Homeland. So that training I took for 3 months. I'm giving to the community every way possible. I'm stretching out and doing the best. I want to make a difference. I want to make this Staten Island is one of the best diversity and bring in the best diversity and bring in the police and the community together. That's why I've been in the police for the last 15 years, bringing the community and the police together. We can achieve a lot working together, and we do the best. And thank you for this opportunity.
And what's your website?
It is Mohan
You have a
for
website?
BP. I already put it out there, mohanforbp.com. Mohanforbp.com.
Excellent.
Thank you, sir.
I want to thank you all, and best of luck to you all. You're all great candidates to me, and it was a very entertaining debate or discussion. I'm Steve with a tie from PoliticsNY. You've been watching the Staten Island Borough President debate. This interview is one of a series of Schnepp's Media PoliticsNY candidate discussion sponsored by AARP New York. New Yorkers 50 and older are the city's most reliable voters, accounting for 3 out of 4 ballots cast in the last open mayoral primary. Schnepp's Media is the only media outlet providing a platform for every single New York City candidate to have their faces seen, voices heard, and personalities on display. I thank you all, and God bless you and good luck to you all.
Thank you for a
Thanks,
beautiful
Steve.
evening. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck.
Thank you, everyone.
AARP. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.